Hey Wanderers, and welcome back to the Wandering Gamer Network Plays Kingdom Hearts 3. I'm Zach.
And I'm Mandy.
Almost forgot my name again. One day I will actually be not a liability to this podcast, and I am trying to play this like a different game I'm playing. Like, I'm hitting the sprint, I'm like, why am I not going faster? I'm like, oh yeah, this isn't God of War.
Huh.
Speaking of which, God of War is fantastic.
Is it? I've heard
It's so good.
conflicting reviews on that.
On the new one?
Oh, when did the new one come out?
Last year?
Oh, okay. Then no. I think it's just the series in general.
The first, the old ones are not great. The new one that came out last year is phenomenal. I was telling Caitlin, I'm disappointed because this is way worse than it has any right to be, and God of War is way better than it has any right to be.
Yeah, speaking of way worse than it has any right to be, so real quick, one of the things that's driving me insane from an animation perspective, the snow physics. I get that we're in a fight, but they're really this whole area would just be a mess. And I get that they're not trying to make it super realistic, but they're half-assing it, and I think that's worse.
Yeah. It's also just hard with this movie is so well done animated, like the movie.
Oh yeah.
And going to this where they're this is one world. We can't spend, 3 years on it. I'm sure makes it difficult.
I'm surprised they didn't. But anyway, so going back to God of War, sorry, I was distracted because of how bad the snow physics are.
No, that's not a problem. No, but I also it's a little unfair for God of War because it's about a dad and his son going on a journey and learning stuff about each other and all that, and being a new parent. It's more I can feel for the father son thing in a way I couldn't before.
Yeah.
But it's still so good, and they have plot beats that are expected, but they do it well, and it's not just stereotypes, and they're having the characters grow and learn from each other, and it's just really good.
That's good. It's always nice to hear when games have really good story structures.
On. I was
oh no.
I got stun locked.
We get to keep watching bad snow physics.
Boo, I'm bad at this game.
No, you're not bad at this game. It is just frustrating. Let's go with frustrating.
Looking back, I should have just put this on easy since I was playing through it on normal on my own.
Is this normal?
Yeah.
Ah, gotcha.
And it's not hard. It's just I spent a lot more time making sure that I was good and leveled up properly in my own game.
Oh yeah.
And this, I'm just kind of winging it and hoping for the best.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I do like Elsa's castle in the background that you can see every once in a while. That looks pretty. But it's also far enough away. It's like the mountains in the background where they're far enough away that they just look fine.
Yeah.
I keep thinking the snow is stars though up in the sky. Because it just kind of, but then they start floating and I'm like, oh, never mind.
But yeah, I wish the graphics still for this are really good.
Overall, yeah, and I totally agree with you. It's like watching older movies that have older animated movies that deal with water, and then watching Moana.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh.
Or going back and watching Toy Story 3, or not 3, Toy Story 1 after watching any of them, anything later on.
Oh my, okay, so bringing up another YouTube channel, because it's what we like to do. Have you seen the CGI artists react to CGI?
Not specifically, I know of them.
Okay, yeah, Corridor Crew is the YouTube channel, but they were talking about the Lego movie in their latest one, which was fascinating.
The new one or the old one? Oh my gosh.
They were talking about just the first one. I'm
just being stun locked.
I guess there's a Oh my goodness, Marshmallow.
He just keeps stun locking me with this stupid attack,
Oh,
or
yeah.
or I can't hit him.
Wow, he's very evil with all those ice shards. But they were talking about how, I guess, it's one of those really dumb things, but like it's noticeable if you've done anything with film, and then when you actually like watch things back to back, you realize it. But one of the things that made people think the original Lego movie was stop motion and not animation. Other than like the imperfections on everything, which is just amazing how you can see like fingerprints, but also the lighting. And they were showing that Toy Story 4 did this too, where the way that like the sun hits things will overexpose things to a point where it's like so bright you can't really see what it is, and then things in shadow you can kind of see, but like it's really dark. But they were just showing the contrast and how like Toy Story 4 did it and the Lego movie did it, and then you look at like Toy Story the first one and you're like, oh my god.
Yeah. Have you ever gone back and like after watching stuff, gone back and like watched the tin toy?
Oh my gosh, I have. It's so funny.
And like the baby.
Oh, the baby is hilarious. That the diaper on the baby is one of my like it is one of the funniest things I've ever seen. It's wonderful. Oh, bye. Ooh, and Rock. He could really kill him.
No, we've fallen from higher already in this world.
That's true.
Snow so soft. We could do this 100 times.
Wow, the physics is just really not existing because they didn't sink at all.
Dude, one what also bothers me is like you jump off of buildings and stuff in this game. And they're like, well, the snow's soft. That's what saved us, not the magic.
Right? Not that... or like when you land on your feet so many times that you should break your ankles, but no.
Or shatter your entire legs.
Yeah, right. Well, y'all made it. I think they're okay.
So talking about falling from heights, my dad used to watch these like seconds from disaster or like close call shows, like where like engineering mishaps and stuff. And one of them, the ones he watched, was like talking about like people who like worked on like power lines, like the really tall ones.
Oh no.
And they were talking about like how you can like fall and like what happens if you fall and like how like you land, like once you're like high enough, like there's no safely landing.
Yeah.
And like he like described in detail what happens each way you land, and man, am I terrified of falling from heights now.
Yeah. Yikes. That's
Like I'll do a tame one where he's like, if you like land like on your back or like front, like flat, like can't like belly flop. He's like your just whole body just crushes itself.
ah.
Yeah, and that was the tame one, and I'm like,
Oh, that's one of the. That's actually one of the things. Going back to the CGI artists, they were talking about Iron Man and how there's one of the scenes. I don't remember which Iron Man or which Avengers it is, but he's like falling and his suit is being put around him, and the suit like gets like it builds itself around him just in time before he hits the ground, and the CGI artist is like, that physics isn't right.
Okay.
His heart would just like fly out of his chest. And I'm like, geez. Well, we're not going to put that in our superhero movie.
Well, can we, if we're talking about the physics of Iron Man, have you ever noticed how his like repulsor beam or like pulse reactor, whatever they're called,
The one coming out of his hand.
like how he flies, they don't point down except when he is landing.
Oh, yeah.
And human bodies aren't really aerodynamic.
Huh.
So it's like, well, if we're talking about the physics of Iron Man, like none of the physics work.
Right. There are definitely things that are not.
I don't know. That's also like one of my things, which I know the show's meant to be like criticizing stuff. That's fine by them. I just like don't care about that kind of stuff because I'm like, I'm not watching a superhero movie for physics.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of like when people were getting upset about The Last Jedi with how... Is it Holdo? Is that her name?
What are
The purple-haired lady?
I think something like that.
Well, purple-haired lady in The Last Jedi, they were mad like that she blew up their ship by warping through it.
I have no problem with that.
And people are like, oh, like, or like that, like, fuels existed in Star Wars now. And I'm like, It's to tell a story, guys, you know? Like, it's one of those things, like, fuel doesn't matter until we need a narrative point with it, you know?
Right.
It's kind of like in RPGs, like, your food doesn't matter, like, in how I play, until I'm purposely trying to starve you
Yeah.
for a reason.
Yeah.
Do you want to know why fuel matters in this? Because it makes a better story than them just light speeding everywhere
Yeah.
and the Empire constantly following them.
That's Elsa.
So I don't know if this is honestly worse than Tangled, because like Tangled you're awkwardly third wheeling, and in this one you just like aren't relevant to the plot.
Yeah, you're just watching Elsa being dragged away by a dude.
That doesn't look like help to me.
He doesn't look like he's doing anything malicious, honestly. It looks
Yeah,
like
he really doesn't.
she's just like knocked out.
Yeah.
Darkness?
He's holding a girl unconscious. Darkness!
I mean,
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't help his case, but it... Oh, well, there you go. There's your darkness. Also, how far away was Hans there?
hey, don't start questioning it. It all
I know.
falls apart very quickly.
Right?
Speaking of being pedantic.
Right. No, but like, one of the things I really love about the CGI videos, most of them thankfully are pretty like chill, where they're not actively like putting down, but a lot of times they're talking about why CGI doesn't work, and I'm pretty sure the reason they got started was to talk about the Sonic trailer.
Oh.
Yeah, right. And it's really fascinating. Like they talk about like how the color scheme is off in the like shots. So even the brightest like green in the shot, his eyes don't match that because like you gotta like get the saturation right to make it work. It's like it's really fascinating stuff if you're into it. But I find that so fascinating. And now whenever I watch anything with CGI, I'm just going to be like, is this working for me? But it's very interesting from a movie making perspective. And I hope they talk more about more animated films. Because, I feel like animated films are, like, I mean, obviously Pixar was kind of at the forefront in the early stages. But, like, you know, doing snow and water and like really making that effect work well. I feel like that's such an animated movie led thing. Oh my gosh, are you back? You can just walk right by. Yeah, don't bother us. Well, don't go after him.
Why are...
You better not have hurt our friends.
Why don't you just go to your friends? Oh, sweet. He just doesn't care anymore.
Hey, wait up.
Oh, duh.
Are you looking for Elsa too?
We can be friends.
Whoa. Easy. Do you
How do you know Hans is a bad guy?
Right?
What I don't get is like how they're just like Hans is the bad guy, and they didn't get that vibe from Mother Gothel.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, because I can see it a little bit if you're like, oh, our friend was up there, and now she's down here unconscious? Question mark?
Why not?
But yeah, if they didn't get it from Mother Gothel, they just have bad intuition.
Terrible intuition. Well, the thing is, like, Mother Gothel isn't like subtle at any point in her movie.
Oh, yeah.
Where Hans is, you know?
Always make friends with anybody.
Oh my gosh. If that were true, he would try to make friends with Hans. Also, yeah, I know we've talked about this before. And you've brought it up where you don't know if it's better to be third wheeling or to be, just watching. I really feel like so far the Monsters, Inc. world has been the best in integrating, like...
Yes.
Sora and everybody.
Well, because it wasn't trying to tell Monsters, Inc. It was trying to tell its own story.
Yeah.
Which worked. And I know that's harder to do with, like, princess movies because it's... like a set narrative.
Well, and that's why they really shouldn't. They
Well-
don't want to be like, "Ugh," but they really should just kind of make up their own little story.
Well, do you want to know what worked well? Is like they had in the prequel game, they had Snow White's world, or like Sleeping Beauty, and like they had those stories, but instead of just like doing a 1-for-1, they like replaced characters. So they had like one of the characters get tricked by the evil queen, and was basically the huntsman.
Oh, nice.
So they had him like go track down Snow White and then choose not to kill her and then come back and fight the evil queen. Or the magic mirror, because
Yeah.
magic. But like, and I'm like, that's how you do it. You don't just put the huntsman in there and have him stop the huntsman and be like, oh, yeah, like, which is what this feels like. They're just trying to like have everything the same.
Yeah, I think right now I'm leaning toward the third wheeling as a better option than this. Because, now it's a little bit better because at least you're getting to, like, fight with Marshmallow and, like, he's, like, a part of it. But I feel like with the third wheeling, at least you got to fight with Rapunzel.
Yeah.
So she was at least a more important character to Kingdom Hearts versus, like, what we've been doing, which is just running around on our own.
Yeah.
Like, isn't the whole point of this to see the characters more?
It's, in my opinion, and this is a little unfair, but it feels like they were like obligated to put in Frozen, but they didn't want to.
Yeah.
Is kind of how it feels. Where like Tangled feels like they wanted Tangled in, and they like made a bigger deal like when it was still working on coming out that this was in it, and then Frozen they didn't really talk about a ton.
It's because Frozen just like, well, because we knew that Kingdom Hearts 3 was coming out before Frozen or right around the same time, I think.
Yeah.
And so, of course, Frozen gets super popular and they're like, do it.
Right. I don't know like how much they wanted to, and it just kind of just has that like, well, we have to do this. But they don't always make good choices for what movies they pick. Case in point, Pirates of the Caribbean?
Yeah, I'm confused why Pirates is in this one. And I'm sure, we kind of, every time we talk about a world that's going to be in it, we kind of say, oh, we'll talk more about it then. But I really feel like by this point, Pirates is not the coolest property anymore.
Well, it also has like the unfortunate baggage of having Johnny Depp.
Yeah. Johnny Depp.
Speaking of unfortunately having Johnny Depp, Crimes of Grindelwald.
Oh my gosh. That movie is so annoying. It's very funny, and it was unintentionally funny, but oh my gosh. Ugh. I love Harry Potter, and they did... J.K. Rowling, you need, like, a team. You need a team of people to make sure what you're writing makes sense. Because I don't think everyone's just doing the George Lucas thing, where they're like, you created the world, I'll bow down to you. You clearly know what you're talking about.
That is not ever the case.
No.
Well, that's mean. You have to be very careful when people get too high on their horse.
Yeah. Well, and especially at some point, it's like when the property is so massive. Because that's the issue with both of those, Star Wars and Harry Potter, is the lore is so massive. Of course we're not going to expect one person to keep track of everything. And, yeah, you're the author, but that should just mean that, you get to have the final say.
Well, and, the other thing is, Harry Potter wasn't designed to be picked through how it is.
Yeah.
Because it started as children's books.
Yeah, it was.
And they
just
were
supposed
good
to be a
children's books. And they grew with the audience. But then, the people didn't let go of them and kept combing through and rereading them all the time, and I don't think they were made for that scrutiny. Where there are epic fantasies that are made for that stuff. A popular one is Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones is made for you to sit and reread them to a degree. But I don't think Harry Potter was ever designed for that.
I disagree with you, but I have a feeling we're coming to the end of an episode, so I will save my my thoughts for that once for the next episode. But good lord, they just cut Anna out of the rest of this.
Well, she's in love. Kristoff loves her, but he already let her go.
Yeah, that all happened very quickly. I feel like they think you are gonna be like fighting longer.
I don't know. Like, we're not just like skipping stuff. Like, I went through all the fight.
No. I think the game makers thought like in general it would take longer to defeat things, because this timeline is moving really fast. Like, they went all the way over to where his rock family is, which we don't actually know where they are.
Or if they even exist in this version.
Yeah. And he got her back to Arendelle and left all in that time frame. Yeah, I don't believe it.
All right. I figure we'll stop here, hiding behind our little rock.
Love it.
Until next time, everyone, keep wandering. Hello, Wanderers, and thanks for listening to this episode of the Wandering Gamer Network Plays Kingdom Hearts 3. We hope you enjoyed it. If you would like to hear more content from the Wandering Gamer Network, check out the link in the description below. We have several actual play podcasts, including D&D 5th Edition and City of Mist. Until next time, keep wandering.